elderly and key workers and the NHS, etc. Um, and for the general public, it's going to come out around in like April sometime next year, and it's said to be 95 or 90% successful.
Yeah. So this vaccine, has been tested, and it's on its way to be rolled out. Yeah, so hopefully there's a chance that soon, maybe late next year, that everything will be back to normal. But we only can pray for that. And yeah, Misbah?
And it's also not like the vaccine's not a live vaccine, so it's not like a weakened version of the disease. It's just like meant to like strengthen your body and the antibodies inside of you to fight the COVID.
Do any of you do biology? Do you know? Do you know, Misbah?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because what does it? What does that mean?
A live vaccine would mean that it's a weakened or dead version of the like disease that your body needs to learn about and fight against. And if it isn't alive, it's just meant to like strengthen your antibodies and not a weakened version of it.
Yeah. So there's different types of ways that we learn in biology. There's different types of ways that a vaccine can be created. A live vaccine would be just the actual the virus, would be, but a weakened, it's almost dead. Yeah, so it wouldn't do anything major to your body. So it's almost dead, and it would be obviously whichever way ingested into your body. Yeah, and that would help your body create the things which bind to the outside membrane. Yeah, things that the antigens. Yeah, those are things that just binds. Yeah, so it helps your body create those things which help then to what your body to fight the virus, if you actually did get the full thing. But this but this other one is not a live one. What did they use to make this vaccine? Do any of you know? Apparently, it's just, from what I heard anyway, it's just the protein that around the membrane. So it would be the same thing which you would make antibodies for, to bind with, to then destroy that virus. Yeah. So hopefully we're able to. So a little bit of biology in today's episode. Yeah. So hopefully anyway we'll get back to normal. But what is another really important thing that has happened and gone on while we've been in this pandemic?
There was the presidential election in USA.
Yeah, there was that, and Trump lost, didn't he? And who won?
Yeah.
Some other.
Joe Biden won.
Joe Biden.
Yeah. But there was another thing as well. Another thing.
Was it? What was it called again? Was something to do? What? I forgot what I was going to say.
It's to do with a country in Europe.
Oh.
And you know about France? What happened?
Oh yeah. A teacher got killed for spreading bad.
Not necessarily that thing, but the portrayal of Prophet Muhammad, which links to what happened with the attack of that teacher. Yeah. And how we saw a lot of Muslims come out in protest against what France was doing. Yeah. Some people said not to protest about this, and how some Muslims anyway told us not to protest about this, and how this might be feeding to their narrative. And other people spoke about how we had to go up and protest and do other things which led to so there were two extremes, saying to do more stuff with not only protests but other things as well. Yeah, and one said just silence, leave it. What do you think about what happened? You lot.
I think it's very bad. For France especially because they were spreading all these rumors about a prophet, and they basically upset 1 billion people basically, and so they shouldn't be spreading these bad things, and is not expect that there's going to be repercussions for what they've said.
Yeah. So these are just some big news of big events that happened while we were gone. Yeah. But coming to the topic, what is the topic of today's show?
Imam Hassan
That Imam
al-Askari.
Hassan al-Askari.
And what number Imam is he?
The
The
11th.
11th.
Can you tell me some things about the Imam?
I can. So he.
Awesome, just brief things.
Okay, go ahead.
Brief things to get into information. Miss, what did you say?
So
No, I was gonna let Mohsin speak
Oh,
because I was gonna
okay.
say something.
he was born in Medina on the 10th of Rabi al-Akhri, and then 232 AH. So yeah, or 846 AD. And some people know it as.
Okay, so Imam Hassan al-Askari, Mohsin, do you know how what's the length of his imamat?
I think it's around 20. I'm not sure. I think 22 or something. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Misbah said 28. How much you're saying, Mohsin? If you had to
I'm
guess.
saying around I'm saying around 22 to 28. Yeah.
Okay, what if I told you it was 6 years?
6.
Oh, it was, wasn't it? Oh,
Yeah, it
Oh.
was
I knew
6
that. I
years.
just forgot.
At the age of 22, he became the Imam.
Oh, and he died
Yeah,
28 years.
Yeah.
His father. Who was his father?
Oh yeah. His father,
Imam al-Naqi.
Imam Naqi.
Yeah. So passed away while Imam Hassan al-Askari was 22 years old, and in 6 years, his imamat was 6 years, which led him to be, when he died, what age was he?
28.
28.
Yeah. So that's one of the shortest period, short period of imamat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think led to the suppression of this imam? And I want people at home, before you two think about an answer, what do you think led to why this imam was so suppressed? Where only he lived only till the age of 28, only to the age of 28, and his only had his years of imamat was only 6. So, Misbah, what do you think? Why was the reason that this imam was solely suppressed so much?
The rulers of that time, when Imam al-Naqi was alive, he was very hated, and then that continued on to Imam Hassan al-Askari after Imam Naqi died, and yeah.
Okay, so due to the reputation of his father, yeah, that could have been why they suppressed him a lot, which is one of many reasons. Mohsin, what about you?
I think it's because the ruler, like Mr. said, but not necessarily about his father's reputation. I think it's more so that the ruler, he must have seen something. So he must have seen how gifted the demand was, and how if he let them preach normally, how they if he let them preach basically freely, without doing something about it, then the religion could grow a lot more, and a lot more faster, and a lot more people will realize it's the truth, and they will turn towards that. And so he must have done. He must have started imprisoning him because he was scared for the truth to come out, and
And
eventually
I
they would
see,
overthrow him.
okay, interesting point by Mohsin, but I see Misbah wanting to say something as well. Misbah, go on.
There was the leader of the time was told that Imam Hassan al-Askari would have Imam Mahdi, and that Imam Mahdi would like come and like he would be like all pious and all knowing, and they didn't want that to happen, so he wanted to like do everything in his power to cause to
They
stop
didn't
that.
want him to have an successor.
That is the main point that I wanted you to come to, and I hope people at home realize that point as well. So the rulers at the time, who were the what was the caliphate at the time? What was the name of the caliphs at the time? What were they called? What empire was it?
Abbasids.
Yeah, they knew
Yeah.
what would they knew, which led them believe about Imam Mahdi. What did they know about?
They was it because there's many things. For instance, there's many sayings about. There must have been many sayings from the Prophet or from the other Imams that they must have they must have started they must have started wondering, and they came to a conclusion that he's one of the last he's one of the last Imams. So Imam Mahdi will probably come after him. So if they stop him, then they'll stop the Mahdi from coming.
So yeah, then they knew that there was 12 Imams. They knew that there were going to be 12 Imams, and they knew Imam Hassan al-Askari was the 11th Imam. So they knew that because of his father being the 10th, obviously he's the 11th. Yeah, and they knew that after him, after Hassan al-Askari, his son would be the 12th Imam, and they strongly feared that. They feared about what would come if Hassan al-Askari had a son. Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam had a son. They were mortified about this. So they tried everything to suppress the Imam, to prevent him from having a son, to prevent him from having any family after him. Yeah. So that's the main reason, I would say, is the reason why his imamate was so such a small time period. Yeah. So do any of you know how he was martyred?
He was poisoned.
Yeah, he was poisoned. Yeah. So at the age of 28, he was poisoned. But do you know about his early life circumstances? Do you know anything about that?
He lived under the care of his father up to the age of 11. And he never had much time with him, but he did learn quite a few things from his teachings, basically.
Okay. And if we look back at history as well, we can see the preparation that came to prevent Imam Mahdi from coming, from achieving his goal. Yeah. So Imam Hassan al-Askari's father was put under house arrest, and Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam, yeah, lived under this house arrest with his father. So most of the time, his life was under house arrest. They were always kept under surveillance. They were always restricted. Yeah, this is all because they knew it was coming towards Imam Mahdi's time. Yeah, and all of this was to do with to prevent this from happening. Yeah. So Mohsen Misbah, I think we'll go to Misbah first. Yeah, has some information about more information about Imam Hassan al-Askari's life. So can we start Misbah with the loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala
Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
The 11th Imam, Imam Hassan ibn Ali al-Askari alayhi salam, born in Medina on the 10th of Rabi al-Awwal 232 Hijri, died in Samarra, Iraq on the 8th of Rabi al-Awwal 260 Hijri, aged 28 years, period of Imamate 6 years. Imam Hassan al-Askari's life from childhood to adulthood was spent in the house where his father Imam al-Naki alayhi salam was to remain under house arrest. But despite this close guard on the Imam, he conducted his duties as Imam from inside the house. 11th Imam, Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam, who was still a child, was standing between some other children who were playing and having fun. Suddenly, a lover of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam was passing by, but he was trapped with this scene that all the children were playing, but a beautiful child was standing alone crying. He decided to approach his child to ask him what was wrong. Maybe he could help him. He said, "My dear, are you crying because you don't have the toys other children have? If you like, I can bring some toys to you." Imam Hassan Askari replied, "Do you think I'm crying do you think I'm crying for the toys? We are not created to play with toys and have fun, but to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seek for knowledge." This love of the Ahlul Bayt asked him how he was sure about that, and the young Imam Hassan Askari answered, "Have you not read the verse of the Noble Quran which guides us, saying, 'What? Did you think that we had created you in vain, and that you shall not be returned to the Noble Quran?" This love of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam was impressed with the answer and said, "But why are you so troubled in such a young age? You have not committed any sins." Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam replied, "Age does not matter. I watch my mother every day when she set fire to the large twigs. She uses the small first. Not I'm afraid that may not the young children of this world be used to light the fire of hell." Allahu Akbar. The Holy Imam Hassan al-Askari, whose infallible personality and hujjat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reflects so deeply, this answer was only a lesson to his followers and ponder over. He taught people Quran and instructed his followers the true teaching of Islam as taught by the Prophet of Islam and his Ahlul Bayt. In fact, Imam Hassan al-Ashqari wrote a complete tafsir of the Quran, which was mentioned by many scholars, historians, and exegetes. Imam's life in Samarra was not in peace, even under house arrest. From time to time, he was taken to Baghdad, questioned, and put in prison there. On one such occasion, the Imam was taken by Turkish guards to Baghdad, where he was kept in prison during the short reign of the Caliph al-Muqtadi and al-Mu'tamid afterwards. While he was a prisoner in Baghdad, there was a severe drought. Rain had not fallen for some time, and crops were drying up. People were facing a famine. They did not know what to do. A Christian priest came to the rescue. He lifted his hands in prayer, and rain fell. The Caliph became concerned, lest for this reason people would forsake Islam and become Christians. When the Imam was consulted, he said that when people assembled to see the so-called miracle performed by the Christian priest, he would remove their doubts. The Imam was allowed to leave the prison to go where the crowd assembled to see the miracle performed by the priest. Imam stood there with the crowd, and when the priest raised his hands for prayer and rain began to fall, Imam told one of his companions to seize the hands of the priest and bring the piece of bone hidden in his hands. When this bone was brought before the Imam, he said that it was the perfect bone of a prophet of God. It was the effect of this holy bone when lifted in prayers to God that brought God's mercy and brought rain to the land. This way, the Imam lifted the doubts from the minds of the people. After this, Imam himself spread his prayer mat and performed 2 rakats of prayer, then lifted his bare hands to God for rain to come to the land and wipe out the drought. Imam's prayers were heard by the Almighty, and rain fell so much that the land became fertile again and crops began to grow. In recognition of this service, the Imam was allowed to leave the prison in Baghdad and live in his house in Samarra, still under house arrest. He was not allowed to go to Medina for a while.
Allahumma.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Thank you, Misbah. So there, Misbah talked about an important period of Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam, his life, which included a drought in the time period of the area which he lived in, yeah, and how by the milk of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how he was able to allow rain to come back to that area. So we saw, even though he was being persecuted, and we saw this a lot with the imams underneath the Abbasid Khalif, the Caliph, yeah, under their rulership, yeah. We saw, even though they were suppressed and tortured and even poisoned and killed under these tyrants of the people who ruled over them and suppressed them. Yeah, we saw even underneath this, the imams of those this Abbasid rulership, yeah, the imams of that time was obviously when people would go, the Khalifas would go to them and ask for advice. That's one important point in this time period, that even though they were being suppressed and they didn't want people to hear, the Khalifas of that time didn't want people to hear the message of these Imams, those same people would go to the Imam for what? To ask for advice.
Wow.
Yeah? Why do you think that was? Any ideas?
Because they didn't want people to follow the priest.
Okay, Mohsin links it to that story. Okay. We wouldn't truly know why they wanted to do that. But for them to come to get the advice, yeah, doesn't that show that they knew that the Imam was more knowledgeable than them, and knew that they are more qualified than them? Yeah, these are things that they must know if they're going to ask for advice. Yeah. So this is one pattern, one trend that we saw underneath the Abbasid rulership, that they would go ask for Imams advice. And even though what they did to the Imam, yeah, what suppression that they did, the Imams would give them some advice. And obviously the Imam did help the people of that area with that drought, didn't he? By praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to stop this drought. Yeah?
Yeah.
So you saw the mercy of those Imams, even under hardship, how much mercy that they had with them. Obviously that is from because they were the sons of the mercy of mankind, which was who? The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Mohsin, you've got the next thing. So let's go to Mohsin a little bit more. Mohsin, have you got a different story about the Imam?
Yeah.
Yeah, so can we start Mohsin off with the loud salawat? Allahumma salli
ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
And just to remind you, we got 5 minutes left. So if you're able to wrap this story up, that would be great for all of you.
Okay. So his name Al Hassan. He's being a visitor of Oscar suburb of Samra. He is titled Al-Askari. His father was Imam An-Naki and his mother was Salil Khatun, and a real woman in piety, worship, chastity and generosity. He was born in Medina, 232 AH. Upbringing and instruction, he lived under the care of respected father up till the age of 11. When his father had to leave for Samra, he was to accompany him and thus share the hardship of the journey with his family. At Samra, he passed the time with his father either in imprisonment or partial freedom. He had, however, the chance to benefit from his father's teaching and instruction. In May, his father died in 254 AH. When he was 22. 4 months before his death, the father declared his son to be the successor and executor of his will, asking his followers to bear witness to the fact. Thus, the responsibilities of the inmate were vested upon him, which he fulfilled even in the face of great difficulties and hostile environment. In the early days of his imamate, Al-Mu'tasim al-Abbasi was the Khalifa. When the latter was deposed, he was succeeded by Al-Mu'tadi. After his brief reign of only 11 months, Al-Mu'tamad came to the throne. During their regimes, Imam Hassan al-Askari did not enjoy peace at all. Although the Abbasid dynasty was involved in consistent complications and disorders, each and every king thought it necessary to keep Imam imprisoned. One of the Holy Prophet's traditions ran that Prophet ﷺ would be succeeded by 12 successors, the last of whom would be the Mahdi, Qasim al-Muhammad. The Abbasids knew well that the true successors of the prophets were these other imams. Al-Hassan, being the 11th, his son would surely be the 12th or the last. They tried to put an end to his life in such a way that they would ensure there would be nobody left to succeed him. A simple confinement inflicted on Imam al-Naqi was considered inadequate for Imam Hassan al-Askari. So he was imprisoned away from his family. No doubt the revolutionary between two regimes gave him brief period of freedom. Yet soon as the new king came to the throne, he followed the predecessor's policy and imprisoned the Imam again. The Imam's brief life, therefore, was mostly spent during the salawat.
Allahumma salli
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وأجل فرجهم.
Thank you, Mohsin, for that. So Mohsin explained a little bit more detail about his the prison life of and he really divided that up there. So thank you for that, Mohsin. So we're coming to the last 2 minutes of today's show. Yeah. So just to talk about the short life of Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam. Yeah, but he did important things in that time period. He laid the foundation for Imam Mahdi, yeah, to alayhi salam, to have his this starting life, this important starting life, which by the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which then he went into what's it called?
Occultation.
Yeah. So he laid the foundation for that, so which was really important. Yeah. So Imam Hassan al-Askari, in his suppressed time period, he realized the circumstances and environments of his time, which was really most important. Yeah, and which we need to take that up. And he did that in the first 28 years of his life. This is a short time period. So we need to think about, which most of us will mostly live more than that. Yeah. So we need to do the same and realize the circumstances and environments of our time. So hopefully you've learned a lot, Mohsin and Misbah. Hopefully you at home as well have learned a lot. So I thank you for joining us on today's show, and we'll see you next week, same time, same place on Hidayat TV. But until then, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.